So hi, hello everyone. So just checking whether I am audible.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for the confirmation. So hello everyone, and welcoming you all for the first Asia Windows 65 user group event. So thank you all for joining us today, and we will appreciating all your time and the support for the community. So my name is Jitesh. I am Microsoft MVP for the Windows 65, having more than 6 years of experience in the IT industries, having management of the Windows 10, 11 devices with the various Microsoft tools like MEM and the Windows 65 Cloud PC. So we are here at Windows 65 community for the. So let's move for the next things, which is what are the agenda for the today's event. So we were having firstly I will be introducing about the community, who we are, and how basically we are working for the Microsoft Windows 65 community. So firstly it will be the introduction part, and later the Christiaan Brinkhoff from the Microsoft community lead and the PM for the Windows 65 will be providing insights about the latest news. So the next we have the Ravishankar joining us from the Microsoft, who will be providing us the insights about the introduction to the Windows 65 architecture and all those overview. And the next session would be the I will be joining Anoop. So we will basically walk through about the Windows Cloud PC hybrid Azure AD join versus uh, Azure AD join. So stay tuned till the last session. So you all having get to know more about all those Windows in the cloud, which is cloud PC related stuffs. So here is the some exciting things for you. So we at Windows 65 community are thrilled to announce we have created the different Windows 65 user groups. So with the new user groups, we are planning to bring some latest news about the Windows 65 coverage and the session from the mix of peoples from the Windows 65 community, as well as from the Microsoft MVPs group, and we are having a bunch of support from the product manager group. So of course anyone else who has something to share and passionate to uh, present, they can present and join us on the below group. So this is basically the we are having currently three various group on the different region. One is for the US, and another for one for the Asia, and the one for the EMEA group. So feel free to join any of the user group, so and be part of this community. And if for the latest news all around, so we are keep publishing the Windows newsletter, so you can just browse to the windows 65 community.com, and you can check all those latest update what is happening all around from the world. So that's all we are covering on the newsletter. And for the knowledge sharing dashboard, we are having the website called w365community.com. So here you can browse the different sections like the Windows 65 and the Windows in the cloud newsletter, and whatever the Microsoft is keep enhancing in their product area. So we are keep posting with this all those latest update. So we have lot of great thing that is in place, and lot more we are planning to do for our community. So stay tuned for that time. So this is our core team. So currently we are having eight core member who is regularly contributing and updating with their knowledge sharing, and by writing their insightful deep dive articles and leading the community. So uh, we are a bunch of MVP groups, and the from the Microsoft team has joined many person who is regularly contributing and helping us to grow this community. So here you can see, you can join us on the different social media channel to keep up to date with the latest posts and the tweets, and let us help to spread what is happening in the world of cloud PC. So you can join us on the Twitter link over there, and we are also having the YouTube and the LinkedIn group, as well as you can use our website. And if you have something you want to share, then let us know. So this community is basically built for you all. If you want to become a part of Windows 65 user group community, or wanted to run a local user group, so you can reach out to any of the community leaders. So now I will be going to hand over the next thing to Ravi, so who will be covering all those insights about the Windows 65 architecture and all those overview. So Ravi, over to you.
Thank you, Jitesh. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening. Um, so my name is Ravi. Let me pull up my slides. Uh, Let me know if you are able to see my screen and hear
Uh,
me okay.
yeah, Ravi, all good.
All right, fantastic. Okay, so just to introduce myself, I'm Ravishankar Nandagopalan. You can call me Ravi. I'm a senior product manager with the Windows 365 customer experience engineering team based in Singapore. I look after strategic customer engagements, insights collection, and much, much more for the Asia region. So uh, today for the session, I used to be an MVP, and just to reiterate on the point that Jitesh made, do actively participate. Windows 365 is a very young and upcoming technology, and uh, it has a lot of promising things that are lined up in the next few months. The advantage of being a member of the early start community is that you get to learn along with all of us from Microsoft as well as from other community members, and you get to understand and hear from the Microsoft folks directly. All right. So with that said, let me move on to the next part. So today, I just want to start off by spending a few minutes and cover architecture and networking of Windows 365. Now, I'll I want this session to be interactive. We are a very small group, a typical meetup, community user group meetup. So feel free to unmute yourself and ask any questions, or if you don't want to disturb the flow, put your questions in the chat. And Jitesh, I need your help to bring those questions up, read it out for me when I pause between the sections. All right, so let's get started. So before we go into the actual topic of Azure networking or the cloud PC networking and connectivity and identity and all that, we need to understand a little bit about Azure networking. So this slide is meant to serve as a quick primer to remind you what does Azure networking made of. Essentially, Azure networking um, starts as a geographical boundary, a country or a state or a political location, and you move on to that. Within that, you contain one or more Azure region. In this case, for example, China East. And then within each region, you create and consume virtual network. So virtual network in its essence is nothing but definition of address space. For example, in here I have a RFC 1918 IP address space, which is 192.168.0.0/16. And I'm defining this is the IP address space of my virtual data center. And the point to note here is that virtual networks reside within a Azure region. It cannot stretch beyond the Azure region. So it's a very important concept to remember. And within Azure virtual networks, we can subdivide those address spaces into smaller networks or subnetworks, or shortly known as subnets. So each of these subnets is a portion carved out of the larger address space. And these subnets, in turn, will contain the actual Azure and other resources that will be using the IP addressing. For example, virtual machines, PaaS services that have, for example, Azure application service environment, you have service endpoint and various other services that consume IP addresses out of this subnetwork. So this is my quick minute elevator pitch of what Azure networking is. This level of knowledge should be enough for this particular session to get started with what I'm going to share next. When it comes to Windows 365, you can deploy in a few types of ways and methods. So the key components that I'm going to focus on today when it comes to Windows 365 design is on identity and hosting options. So I'll explain what I mean by identity and hosting options in the next few slides, and it should be very clear for you to understand and see. Um, Before we get into those options, you need to understand what makes up a Windows 365 architecture. So Windows 360, any typical Windows 365 deployment is made up of at least three, if not five components. The first is the Microsoft Endpoint Manager, essentially the management shell or the management portal of uh, your Windows 365 experience. This is where administrators assign licenses, create groups, deploy apps, deploy cloud PCs, create provisioning policies, etc., etc. All right. So this is the starting point of any Windows 365 deployment. And the second is the cloud PC, the actual virtual machine, plus the virtual network interface. Now, you might be wondering why I call out Cloud PC and virtual network separately. There is a reason for that. So you will understand it soon enough in the next couple of slides when I explain the different architecture options available. The third component, which is optional in one of the primary architecture methods or deployment models, is the requirement to have Azure subscription and Azure Virtual Network. All right. So with these two, essentially, you can create a network in which cloud PCs can be deployed and etc. The fourth component, which is absolutely necessary to have any Windows 365 deployment, is the identity store, in this case, Azure Active Directory. All right. So Azure Active Directory is absolutely necessary. And the final component, which is optional in one of the deployment models that I will show you, is Active Directory domain services, or in simple terms, on-premises Active Directory. So these are the five components that are needed in any typical Windows 365 architecture deployments. So now let's take a look at the actual deployment themselves. Let me see. Okay, here's my mouse. Right. I lost my mouse. Give me a second. Okay, that's odd. All right, got it. Let me see if I can advance the slides. Nope. Give me a second, folks. Sorry for the trouble. For some reason, I'm not able to advance the slides. Just a second, please.
Ravi, if you need help, like I can present.
Yeah, sure. Let's try that while I'm still working on bringing this up. Apologies, folks.
So just let me share the screen.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, all right.
All
So
right. Thank you, Jitesh. So let's start with the option number one, the most simpler option in the available options. The first is to uh, look at the required components that we just looked at. At the top right, you'll see the Microsoft Endpoint Manager and the Azure AD components. At the bottom, the orange box represents the Microsoft's resource boundary or Microsoft management boundary. Within that, you have a blue box that is representing the Microsoft subscription. And that Microsoft subscription will host the Cloud PC and the virtual network adapter. This subscription will be allowed access via the Azure Virtual Azure Virtual Desktop, which is indicated as a user connectivity to the left, and users with different devices and different modalities can connect to the Cloud PCs directly. And the Cloud PC deployed this way is authenticated and authorized using Azure AD that the customer brings in, and along with the user accounts for consumption. And it's managed by Microsoft Endpoint Manager that, again, the customer brings by themselves. So this is the simplest option of deployment here. You don't need to bring any Azure networks or on-premises Active Directory, etc. Pretty simple and straightforward. Next slide, Jitesh. Okay, so this is an extension of the previous slide with slight modifications. So the modifications, to begin with, what are the common components? We still have the customer's own Microsoft Endpoint Manager, the Azure AD for authentication and authorization, and we still have the Microsoft subscription where Cloud PC is deployed. Now, this is where the commonality ends. When deploying Cloud PC, customer needs to bring their own subscription with virtual network. And instead of deploying the Cloud PC along with the virtual network adapter, the network adapter is deployed in the customer subscription directly. So this way, when customer needs to control the traffic of Cloud PC flowing to internet or on-premises or any other remote location, they can control it via the virtual network controls available using firewalls, load balancers, proxies, public IP addresses, and whatnot, just like any other Azure virtual machines network settings. So this model makes use of essentially Azure AD join capability, which is the authentication model, and uh, customers' own network, virtual network and subscription. This method of deployment is called as hosted on behalf of. because Microsoft hosts the cloud PC on behalf of the customer. All right, so we will look at all the models adhering to this deployment modality. Let's move on to the next slide. All right, so here we are looking at the hybrid Azure AD join model. On top of Azure AD, we now bring in the on-premises domain controller, which acts as the source of truth for user identities and device identities. In simple terms, what it means is that you are joining cloud PCs to the domain controllers in on-premises, as well as uh, joining them to Azure AD so that Microsoft Endpoint Manager can manage them as part of the lifecycle. Rest all, when it comes to networking, customer subscription is used where they define the virtual network, and the virtual network adapter is injected or deployed directly into the customer subscription instead of being in Microsoft subscription. All right, so that customers get the flexibility to define what and how the connections are made to customers' resources on premises and within Azure or outside of Azure. So these are the three different deployment models. Any questions so far? If you have any questions, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask away. If not, drop your questions in the chat window. Let's move on to the next slide, Jitesh. All right. So here is a little exhaustive or a little more complicated slide. Let's break this down. So to the far right of the screen, you have Microsoft subscription, essentially that hosts all the cloud PCs in their own host pools. And to the left, you have customer subscription that contains the network to which the cloud PC network adapters will be deployed to in the spoke virtual networks. And we also have the Azure AD MEM. And we, as a little more elaboration, we also have a hub virtual network that will act as the common network interface, a virtual network that hosts all the common resources such as gateways, public IPs, Azure Firewall, and various other things that are required to operate an enterprise data center. All right, so let me walk through how a typical end user connection looks like. Typically, when a user wants to connect to a cloud PC, the first thing that they would do is subscribe to their feed in RD client. From the RD client, when they click on the cloud PC launches and immediately sends a authentication request to Azure AD. Azure AD in turn authenticates the user by presenting a username password challenge, plus if it is configured, a conditional access challenge. That's the first layer of security. Second, once the user is authenticated, a token is returned to the remote desktop client. And from the remote desktop client, a connection is made to the Azure Virtual Desktop's gateway component. This gateway component receives the connection and in essence negotiates the resources that are available for the user, and it basically requests for a reverse connection from one of the cloud PCs that are in communication in one-way flow from the cloud PC to AVD component. So the connection from a cloud PC will flow from right to left. From the Microsoft subscription, the agent running inside the cloud PC will utilize the network adapter that is sitting in one of those spoke VNets, and the spoke VNet traffic will be routed to the hub VNet traffic via a Azure networking feature called as peering that allows connecting one or more virtual networks together. So the traffic from the network adapter from the spoke VNet flows through the hub VNet. It reaches the Azure firewall where customers can define various traffic rules to basically block or allow specific URLs and endpoints that belong to internet, on premises, etc. So here we will define the AVD, MEM, and W365 URLs to be whitelisted and not to be inspected. So from the Azure firewall, it basically reaches the gateway. And from the gateway, the traffic is routed to the AVD component, and at the AVD gateway level, the two directional traffic are stitched together, and the user gets a remote desktop connection to the cloud PC that is sitting in customer subscription. In a nutshell, this is how a customer would consume in a typical enterprise setup of Windows 365 that works. Let me pause here to see if there are any questions. Okay, fantastic. So with that, this particular setup has few other components with it. This particular setup represents the hosted on behalf of architecture with hybrid Azure AAD joined identity model, where we synchronize Active Directory components using Azure AD connector to Azure AD from the far left side of the screen. If you look at on-premises box, we synchronize the objects to Azure AD. So whenever a cloud PC is provisioned, automatically the object is created and in Active Directory. Azure AD Connect synchronizes that object to Azure AD. And once the synchronization is completed, the deployment, as part of the deployment, the cloud PCs are joined to Azure AD as well. And the on-premises and Azure network boundaries can be connected using ExpressRoute or site-to-site VPN, one of those methods. Next is, with this setup, we are able to allow line of business application access for users who are going to access cloud PCs, which means that just like a physical endpoint, users who log into cloud PCs can access their line of business applications in on-premises, or if they are sitting in one of the spoke VNets in customers' Azure subscription virtual network, they can access it in there as well. So again, it gives the flexibility of scale as well as the ability to control routing in various directions. And with this hub and spoke model in the customer Azure subscription, we are also able to control the traffic that goes to internet, which includes essentially Office 365 or M365 apps, plus any partner cloud services, any third-party cloud services, or just plain old internet consumption. So any questions so far? And I think almost to the end of my slides. Jitesh, you want to advance one more? All right. I'll wrap up this portion of the meetup session with just one more additional point. When it comes to traffic flowing between Cloud PC and various endpoints or various destinations, such as user devices, on-premises, internet endpoints, etc., one of the key consideration is how do we handle those traffic that are, how do we handle deployments that will consume or that will use VPN clients, and proxy services. This is one of the most common sources of user issues and user dissatisfaction. In simple terms, if you look at the Microsoft subscription to the far right side of your screen, we have Windows 365's RDP traffic indicated in a blue line, and the VPN and proxy traffic indicated in a black line. We need this type of segregation between the RDP and Teams and any other real-time traffic that needs to reach its intended destination, which is the user endpoint as well as the service itself. For example, in the case of Teams, it needs to go directly to the Teams. If else, when you are in a call, the traffic, when it is forced to go via the VPN, it gets routed to on-premises, and from there it breaks out to internet, which adds latency and a lot of bad user experience in terms of sluggishness. In terms of Teams call, it adds jitter and it breaks the quality of experience for the end users. So key takeaway from this slide that I want you to consider and go back and read up a little more before you get into a customer conversation and propose a topic. Consider what type of proxy that the customer uses in their physical endpoint or VDIs currently and what they want to adopt for cloud PCs based on the authentication and identity and networking deployment model. If they are using VPN and cloud proxies such as Zscaler, you need to allow the traffic for RDP, Teams, etc., to break out of those VPN and Zscaler proxy clients and reach directly to internet and to the user's RD client as of now. So I think with that, we are end of my session. Jitesh, you want to take it over?
Yeah, thank you, Ravi, for the wonderful session. So if we have any question, probably we can take it out.
Yeah, happy to answer now. You can unmute yourself and ask questions, or you can post it in the chat window, and I'm happy to address those there as well. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Ravi, for the session and sharing the most complicated topics. I think networking is never easy. So thanks for all those steps. So if we have no more questions, so we will be proceeding ahead with Christian. I think Christian, you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for joining us a bit early from morning. So next
Sure.
session, uh, you will be providing insights about all those latest update and all those things from the Windows in the cloud. So what do you?
Here, thanks, Jitesh, and thanks everybody for joining. I'm Christiaan Brinkhoff. I'm one of the program managers of the Windows 365 engineering team here in Redmond. It's a little bit early here, but it's still fine. I have more meetings with the other side of the planet, so happy to be here. And it's well great to see Jitesh and Anoop leading this group because it's very important to just meet and have other like-minded people to connect with. And if you are doing an implementation of Windows 365 and you're struggling with a technical issue, that you have somebody which you can talk with, which perhaps already encountered the same problem and can help you solving it faster as well in your environment. And it's another great just opportunity to connect with other people, presenters, and learn from them as well. So my goal of this session is really to give you a heads up on, hey, what's the latest news, what's on the roadmap, as well as like what is the latest news that is really like game changing. So I would like to show you some demos of that as well, and open up for questions. And if you have just a question like, hey, what about like this feature? Why it's not there? Or do you have any plans for shipping that? Like, feel free to unmute yourself or put it in the chat, and I'm happy to answer that here live, because here I'm here anyway. So why not doing it directly, right? I'm making it a little bit more informal as well. So let's get started. So first of all, I would like to show you a couple of the latest new features we shipped into the product already. So just to give you a level set on what we already did. And then in the next slide, I will show you what we will do in the near-term future to improve the feature set, as well as on top of that feature set to keep ahead of the curve of innovation and where you as a customer or an IT consultant or architect want to be as your organization moving forward, because Windows 365 is a SaaS solution. And with a SaaS solution, you think about simplicity. So things are easy as configuring Exchange Online or Office 365. And the other thing is that Windows 365 holds the branding name Windows, meaning that it will integrate into Windows. So will show you what we mean with that and how that will look in the future as well. So what about starting with the first bucket here? So the Windows 365 web client is the new web client experience we shipped 2 months ago. So you can already use that. You only need to, for enabling it, click on what's new in the right corner in the windows365.microsoft.com portal. And if you do that, you get a new experience if you click on connect, which gives you faster load time, meaning we improve the connection process from clicking on connect into the cloud PC. So that just happens in a matter of seconds. Higher performance and reliability is part of the backend services we upgraded as part of the RD Web Portal service and the RD Core SDK that we leverage, which is a new protocol handler integration on the web portal. Local resource settings, meaning that you can configure local resource redirection, microphone, audio, those kind of redirection, as well as like file redirection right now. So that's integrated. You can change those settings as well on the fly. So if you want to disable redirection because you're logging on from a location that you don't trust, you can disable as well file redirection and such. So all kinds of extra in-session capabilities we improved. Accessibility improvements, so you can, for example, change the keyboard layout on the fly or during logon. If you have a different keyboard layout and you want to get it changed, you can just easily do it during logon, just for some extra improvements on the accessibility of the Cloud PC environment. And you can bookmark Cloud PCs as well. So, for example, if you have multiple Cloud PCs, like one on Windows 10 and one on Windows 11, you can bookmark which one you prefer the most to use, and then it gets highlighted in the portal, and then it's easier for you to access and see what your favorite one is as well. So the next bucket, and I saw Ravi already sharing great insights on the more technical aspects of this, but native Azure AD join, basically AADJ in a shorter acronym, is now available in public preview, meaning that you no longer need a domain controller, no Azure subscription, and we can host everything on behalf of the customer. So we already do that for the VM part. So no matter you use hybrid or Azure AD join, we always host the VM components in a Microsoft managed environment, so you never will see anything showing up in your Azure subscription that belongs to the VM, because that's part of the SaaS service. So we own the VMs and the underlying infrastructure, and we maintain that as well. And as part of that component, on top of that, you can configure that VM in hybrid Azure AD or Azure AD join. And with hybrid Azure AD, as you might know, you need a domain controller because it requires Kerberos as part of a backend connection, and therefore you need to have a mechanism to connect to that Kerberos environment, and therefore you need an Azure subscription to set up that VNet peering / site-to-site VPN or express route. And that's no longer needed because with Azure AD we removed the layer of Kerberos that is necessary. However, you can still use an on-premises network connection. So we will change that to Azure network connection soon. But or we already did that if I'm not mistaken. So that's a little bit more accurate on hey where that connection can live, whether it's on Azure or on-prem. But that's a very important aspect, moving to the cloud and moving to more SaaS and as well cloud agnostic and native. So no need for a domain controller for that anymore, no subscription anymore. If you want to go to on-prem for your backend services, you can still do that with Azure AD Join, but that would require an Azure subscription because it needs a VNet to create that VPN connection to your backend. A lot of customers still prefer that because there's an application or database or any other server that they need to connect from the cloud PC to. So that's all supported. And another great improvement we did is localized experiences. We added in the settings menu of MEM in the provisioning policy an option to change the language settings of the cloud PC. So if you are a VDI admin or have been doing that for a while, you know that changing languages and images has been sort of a struggle for a very long time. And this just makes it as easy as just flipping a switch, and then the language in the cloud PC is just the language you prefer, and that's all you need to do. To also make life easier for the IT admin and get more productive easier from the get-go. So Windows 11 experience. So we support Windows 11 since the 5th of October last year when Windows 11 shipped in GA. So we were like day one ready, and we had all the features that were required for Windows 11 incorporated into the VM. So the virtual TPM chip, UEFI, secure boot support, those things are all inside the cloud PC, all pre-baked and default enabled. And Windows 10 has that as well. So if you are starting with Windows 10 and you want to upgrade to Windows 11, you can easily do that because that TPM chip is auto-enabled also in Windows 10. We have images for Windows 11 in the marketplace, so we maintain that every month during Patch Tuesday. They get the latest and greatest features for Office, for Microsoft 365 apps, for Teams optimizations, and all those things together. So all to create that extra level of productivity once you ship or provision a cloud PC to an end user. Then all the Microsoft 365 apps run in an optimized manner out of the box without any extra level of IT admin configuration on top. Simplifying security baselines is something we have as well. So what that means is we have security baselines for Windows 10 and Windows 11 specifically for cloud PC. So it includes AV kind of optimizations, antivirus optimizations, as well as compliancy settings or settings in Windows that we recommend as Microsoft, as the Windows 365 PM team that you should enable as part of your Windows 365 environment. You can, of course, do it yourself, but this makes it a little bit easier to have a secure cloud PC environment for you just in a matter of assigning a profile and perhaps make some additional adjustments on top of that. So management and cloud PC configurations, what does that mean? What is like the improvements we did on the management side and the cloud PC licenses, so the configuration of the cloud PC. So a nested virtualization is something we recently shipped as part of the 8-core 32 gig of RAM license, meaning that you can now use nested virtualization in that license. So what you can do if you provision a cloud PC with 8-core 32 gig of RAM, you can enable the virtual machine option in the Windows features, and then you have all of a sudden a Linux running as a terminal on your cloud PC, which is kind of amazing for developer use cases because they can continue working on Windows 11, and then work in a terminal for Linux to do developer kind of work. Same for Hyper-V and other like Docker sandbox related services that require nested virtualization. That all works and is supported out of the box for the 8-core license. And we are working on getting it to the 4-core license as well soon. So point-in-time restore is something we just shipped as well. So what it means is you can go back in time. So for example, if you want to go 7 days back because you did something in your cloud PC and you lost some data, or you want to just recover to the previous state, you can easily do that. So we have this now in the service. You can do it as an IT admin in MEM, or as well as an end user in the Windows 365.microsoft.com portal. So it's an easy search because you can just click on the 3 digits on the right corner and then you can do a restore there. So that's something we shipped. It's in public preview. We think we will release it in GA next month. And the same for Azure AD Join, by the way, that will ship as well next month in GA. So then we have the business admin feature, the improvements we did for Windows 365 Business. So as you might know, we have Windows 365 Business and Enterprise, and Business is targeting 1 to 300 users, more simple, easy, more for the accidental admin, the smaller, medium businesses that don't have a full IT department and MEM, so it's easier to provision and do IT admin capabilities, whereof Enterprise is targeting 300 plus licenses, so thousands, 10,000s of cloud PCs managed by MEM, then Enterprise is your best way to go. And for the business product, we improve some of the IT admin capabilities, so you can do Windows 10 or Windows 11 as a default. You can change the default rights of the user on top of the operating system. So meaning a local administrator or just a local user with user rights, or not local user, user rights as a domain user, AAD or hybrid, or AAD only. Hybrid is not supported in business, and as well capabilities to remotely re-provision, reset, or rename, and all those kind of capabilities you have as an end user as well to do from an IT admin. And more of those capabilities will come to the business portal. So think about localized settings like the language packs, and those things will come for the business product too. And we are working as well on enabling Intune/MEM support for Windows 365 Business as well. Then the last one on the list here is Microsoft 365 Lighthouse support. So what does that mean? Is that you can as well, on a multi-tenant basis, manage multiple cloud PC tenants. So if you have, if you are a partner and you have like 4 or 5 customers that you need to manage and maintain, and they have a cloud PC tenant environment, you can use Lighthouse to manage them all together via one single pane of glass. So it's a very easy portal that you can use to manage all those environments. So you can see the metrics, the provisioning time, errors of the provisioning process, or integration with MEM and things like that. So it's very easy to just flip the tenant and go to the different environments and see what the status of that is as well. So are there any questions for me on this slide? Otherwise, I just move forward real quick, because the next slide is a little bit more exciting. This was all pretty great, so don't get me wrong here. And before I jump into this slide, if you have any feedback for us and you think, hey, tomorrow after this session, you think, hey, they didn't talk about this, but I really need this, you can go to the link in the right corner, ak.ms/Windows or W365 roadmap, and that page goes to the roadmap. But if you go to this page in the corner, W365 feedback, that will bring you to the Windows 365 public-facing feedback portal, and that's something you can use to list feedback and questions regarding features when they will come available to us. And we will take a look there and we review that list of feature requests as well, and make sure that voice of the community is like heard, and make sure that it gets the right prioritization as part of the features semester planning we do internally. So please do so. So let's move forward. So in terms of optimizations to the authentication process, of course we have Azure AD already explained. No need for an on-prem Active Directory and those kind of benefits. And on top of that, we will provide a single sign-on experience to Azure AD Join, meaning that once you log on to your cloud PC environment and you have full cloud, that the second authentication prompt will be gone soon. So we are internally self-hosting that right now, and soon we will ship that into production as well. US Gov Cloud is coming, so we are working hard to make Windows 365 available in the government cloud. So if you're working for a government and you have the requirement to land your resources in the government cloud, we will have that soon available for you too. Reset VM to a clean state will be available for enterprise, already available for business. What you see underneath that are 4 sets of features that are more related to the end user experiences of Windows 365 that I will show you just in a bit in terms of demos as well, more deeply. And what does it mean? It's new experiences that come from the Windows shell. So it's a unique Windows experience. How you expect Windows 365 will work, that's something we are working on as well. So that's Windows 365 app switch, boot, and offline mode. And I'm very excited about those features. A couple of those features I have on my plate as PM to represent and to ship. So I will give you some deep insights on why we created those and how they will work and look and feel as well in just a bit. Monitoring and reporting, meaning that endpoint analytics is our monitoring solution, and we will build more and more improvements on top of that to make sure that the IT admin gets the proper capabilities to do proactive and reactive monitoring of the Cloud PC environment. So you already have like round trip time and resource performance and things like that integrated, which is great, but we are not stopping there. So we are adding more capabilities like health performance of the environment, connection alert checks, meaning that we will check if there's something going on with the provisioning process or something else, and then you can create alerts of that can go send an email to the IT admin, and the IT admin then gets an alert like, hey, Ravi's or Jitesh's Cloud PC is doing 80-90% of CPU consumption for like a half an hour. Probably you should maybe resize that Cloud PC, or you should check this setting because this is not good. And that's kind of the proactive kind of remediation and recommendations we do with endpoint analytics, which will go in a different like next level in informing the IT admin. So that will ship as well soon. And then the same for connection insights and recommendations. So in terms of your on-premises network connection, your Azure network connection, those settings, you can monitor that as well. Like, for example, if your VPN connection breaks or something like that, you probably want to know as an IT admin. So we will create some insights of that as well into the endpoint analytics portal, all to make you feel more comfortable on, hey, I have everything in control as an IT admin. And that's really where you want to be as a Cloud PC. And the great thing about Cloud PC is as well that the endpoint analytics and MEM consoles all needlessly integrate with how you manage your physical PC. So you can combine those two, PC in the cloud as well, PC local environments from one unified management experience. So security and management. So soon we will natively default enable secure boot in the Cloud PC environment. So currently that's enabled for like enabling the feature, but it's not enabled by default. So that will be happening soon. Point in time restore already shared. It's available, but will go in a GA state like next month if we meet the quality bar of shipping it into GA. E-discovery support will come, meaning that you can capture the disk that you use, meaning that you can just download the disk, the VHD, and hand it over for forensics analysis. Disk encryption improvements will come and resize enhancements. So you can go up and down in resize. So more flexibility there, as well as the operating system disk that you can change to do a resize there as well. So for the sake of time, I go a little bit further, faster. So what you see here is the set of features I just explained. So Windows 365 app, boot, switch, and offline. And with Windows 365 app, we bring a native Windows 365 experience into Windows 11 from a client perspective. So you might know the remote desktop client, the RD client, that you use today on Windows to connect to the Windows 365 environment. With Windows 365 app, we have a Windows 365 branded client experience with the same benefits of the remote desktop app. The great benefit of this app is that that we will integrate it into Windows 11, so you get it inside Windows 11. So no need to install it separately or things like that. Then we have Windows 365 boot. It's a purpose-built operating system version, a lighter weight version that can boot directly into a Cloud PC environment. So no need for local UI, it just straight boots up into the Cloud PC environment. Windows 365 switches integration of Cloud PC into the task view switcher, so the task view integration in Windows 11 that you know from the taskbar, as the taskbar has next to the search button, task view button that you know from the square, the gray square and the black square. And if you click on that, you can currently use it for local desktops, so you can just create separate desktops. And in the near-term future, you can click on a Cloud PC desktop and boot straight up to a Cloud PC environment from there. And then we have Windows 365 offline mode, meaning that you can work offline. So we will sync the local state or the local state of the Cloud PC to the local PC. And then you can go back and forth round tripping when you are going offline and online. So we will incrementally download and upload that state of that Cloud PC to a local VM instance that we create for offline mode. So I will show you real quick how that looks and feels, and then I have some room for question, and then we can hand it over to Jitesh and Anoop. So this is the Windows 365 app. You will see that the app is available in Windows 11 in the start menu. If you click on that, you see a new first run experience of the Windows 365 app. So it explains the service, how you can use it, what are the benefits of Windows 365. And once that is ready, it does a wink as well to Windows 365 switch, as you can see here. And what you see here is the same kind of web experience, but then from the client. So you see reset, restore, restart, resize, all those capabilities from within the client as well. And then you can just continue where you left off, full screen, how you use the remote desktop client today, but then with a Windows 365 look and feel. So then we have Windows 365 switch, and this is a very fast demo. So please pay attention what happens on the screen here. And here you see a local personal environment, and this is kind of the demo I would like to show to switch between personal and business. So if you go to the task view button on the taskbar in Windows 11, you can switch to the Cloud PC desktop, which is not available today. We are building it right now. And if you click on that, you connect directly into the Cloud PC, and you see that you continue where you left off, and you get a notification as well that you are in your Cloud PC. And if you're in your Cloud PC, you can as well go back to your local PC and then change or some settings or do some work on your personal PC, because the apps that you have for your personal business or your personal private life are only available on your personal computer or not in your corporate Cloud PC environment. So that round tripping experience is something that is unique, hasn't been done before in any type of virtualization environment, and we are very happy to own the patent on that as well, of course. And this will ship soon as well. So I'm working on this with a team within Windows AVD as well as Windows 365, and we are very excited to show this in real life soon into our products. Then we have Windows 365 Boot, and Windows 365 Boot is a new kind of lightweight cloud version of the operating system that can boot straight up to the Cloud PC environment. So here it detects Windows 11 for Business. And once it does that, it doesn't open the local operating system, the local PC, but it boots directly into a Cloud PC. So you don't see really like what's going on as an end user. It just looks and feels just like a local PC, and then you're good to go to just open your corporate apps again and just continue your work in Excel. So very easy process, and that's exactly where Windows 365 wants and is today as part of a product moving forward. And then we have, for the last demo, Windows 365 offline. So, for example, if you board a plane and you lose connectivity to your local PC and you are connected to the Cloud PC, you get a prompt notification that offline mode is activating. And what happens here is that the local VM instance that is running on your local PC will be activated as a main connection. So it will synchronize the state of the Cloud PC back to local. And once you arrive to your destination and you have your connectivity back online, it will sync the state back up. It uploads the state back up to your Cloud PC, and then that Excel sheet that you were working on in the meantime gets updated, and the end user doesn't see any changes in the session state, switching back and forth and switching between the connection state of the environment. So before I close off, one more thing. Tomorrow we have an event coming up. I'm not sure. No, I don't think it's time zone friendly for Asia. So it will be recorded. So you can still register for the event and then get the recording like a day later. During this event, myself, Scott Manchester, and Jeremy Chapman. Scott is the director of PM, so basically my boss, and he has been leading the Azure Virtual Desktop team as well. And Jeremy Chapman is from Microsoft Mechanics, which you might know. And he will be joining us to show how you can implement Windows 365, some roadmap items, as well as some product tips and tricks. So if you're interested, go to that link below here. I will post it in the chat real quick as well. And with that, yeah, if there are any questions for me, let me know. I'm here. I will stay here for a bit while Anoop is taking over together with Jitesh, and yeah, I'm just glad that I see the group here, and I hope you're excited and like the new features. And if not, let me know which you want to see, and then I will do my best to make it available for you. So yeah, let me know if there are any questions. Otherwise, Jitesh, take it over from me. Okay, thanks guys.
Yeah,
Thanks for joining.
thank you, Christian, for like making us update with all those deep dive and exciting features. So definitely, people will loving it, and hopefully they will come with their feedback to us. So thanks for joining and sharing the insightful things. So moving forward for the next session, so I along with Anoop, who will be joining me for presenting the next session, which will be all about the Windows in the cloud PC. So this is the basically we will be providing insights about the Windows Cloud PC hybrid Azure AD join versus hybrid. Sorry for the Azure AD join differences. So let me share my screen. Okay, so let me know when it's up.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay. Yeah, so thank you all for joining us today. So basically, we will talking about the Windows 65 Cloud PC hybrid Azure AD join versus Azure AD join differences in this session. So moving next to so my name is Jitesh. So I am Microsoft Windows 65 MVP, and I am like more than having 6 years of experience in the IT industry, managing different technologies, MEM, and the Windows Cloud PC and the Windows 10, 11 management. So basically, here along with me, Anoop, who is like a well-known face for the community, who will be contributing here with your insightful knowledge sharing with in terms of the Windows Cloud PC. So Anoop, over to you.
Nope, you're on mute.
Hello.
As always. I'm sorry about that. Thank you all for joining. Hello all. Thank you all for joining in today, and a special thank you for Christian, who joined very early morning, his time zone from Redmond, and another special thanks to Ravi, who did an excellent presentation on this topic, on this UG meeting, user group meeting for Asia. So let's get on to the topic for today. My name is Anoop, and I'm a Microsoft MVP from, I don't know, I don't remember exactly. I think 2015. I think, and I work on predominantly on device management part, and I involved in other pieces of technologies such as Windows 365 and AVD, kind of stuff like that. So let's move on, and don't forget to subscribe to W365 community, and we have weekly newsletters. Don't skip those newsletters. We cover all the product news, all the news from the field as well in that newsletter. So this Twitter handler is there at the rate W365 community. Do follow and keep up to date with Windows 365 product. Okay, so Azure AD versus hybrid Azure AD is a big topic of discussion all over the IT community, right? So we are going to cover Windows 365 perspective of that. Okay, so there could be some differences or some things which are a bit different for physical PC hybrid Azure AD join versus Azure AD join and Windows 365 Azure AD join and hybrid Azure AD join. Why? This is mainly because physical PCs, it is always difficult to migrate, and we need to kind of rebuild and reimage the PCs, and that is going to be a bit difficult task if you compare it with the virtual PCs, right? So over here we are talking about cloud PCs, and probably we are hoping that hybrid Azure AD to Azure AD migration in the cloud PC world is much easier or frictionless than the physical ones, right? So let's see what are the benefits of Azure AD join cloud PCs or Windows 365 cloud PCs. Okay, so we can take full advantage of modern device management solutions and authentication solutions, right? For example, SAML authentication is what Azure AD uses, and if you want to take full advantage of that, then you need to go with Azure AD join cloud PCs. Okay, and for cloud modern management, when I say modern management, I meant Intune management or MDM management, right? So if you want to take all the advantages of modern management and Windows 10 CSPs, then this is the correct way. Azure AD join is the correct way to go ahead, right? So the second point is we all know there is a delay in the provisioning process when we have a hybrid Azure AD join scenario. This is applicable for AVDs and Windows 365, etc. This is not probably because of the technology, Windows 365 technology or AVD technology, right? This is mainly because of the sync between on-prem Active Directory and Azure Active Directory. We need to sync the devices from on-prem Active Directory to Azure AD in a hybrid Azure AD join scenario. So that can cause, or I have normally seen 20 minutes delay, right, in that process, right? In Azure AD join scenario, we can kind of reduce that delay, and that is a big advantage for Azure AD join scenario, I would say. Okay, and the third point we mentioned here is dependencies of Azure infrastructure. So with the announcement of Azure AD join, Cloud PC or Windows 365 reduces lot of dependencies on Azure infrastructure side. Okay, so we have an option to go without any Azure subscription and without any network connectivity back to on-prem or any company managed or organization managed network connectivity or vnets, etc., right? So that is one of the advantage, mainly if you are looking to move to the cloud, and if you have a cloud only users. That is one other point which we have mentioned in the slide, right? If you have cloud only users, there are two kinds of identities which we are going to cover here, right? Hybrid identities. When I say hybrid identities, identities are there in on-prem Active Directory as well as in the cloud, right? That is hybrid identity. And the second thing is cloud only identity. So cloud only identity is going to be only in cloud. Okay, so if you have an organization where you have only cloud identities, you are not having any on-prem Active Directory solutions, then this is the best solution. Azure AD Join Cloud PC is the best solution for you, I think, right? So I think I pretty much covered everything apart from the SSO. SSO is also going to be frictionless in the coming future. I think for if you are going ahead with Azure AD Join. So if you ask me the recommendation from my side, so I will always suggest to go with Azure AD Join rather than hybrid Azure AD Join if your organization is not having any blocking points. Okay, so probably we can go to the next slide. Okay, so we are continuing the same theme in this slide also, and the similar kind of discussions. I covered some of the points in the previous slide, so I will go a bit quick. So Azure subscription requirement, as you know, for a hybrid Azure AD join scenario, for cloud PC hybrid Azure AD join, you need a Azure subscription. But for Azure AD join scenario, that is an optional one, right? So that you need to kind of understand why that is optional, and probably Jitesh will share more details in his slides and the demo, right? So line of sight to the a domain controller, that is obviously mandatory for hybrid Azure AD join scenario, but if you are using Azure AD join, that is not at all mandatory. Okay. um, so user identity, as I already covered that, domain join setup, yeah, that is by default. You all know what is domain join, and for that, for you need domain join connectivity, and you need to open all those ports, right? Which are required for domain join if your domain controller is in on-prem. Okay, and policy management, that's a big difference, I would say. I want to pause a bit for this particular point. Okay, so for Azure AD join scenario, the device records will be available only on Azure Active Directory. So there won't be any records in on-prem Active Directory. So if you are thinking of managing devices through a group policy, then we won't be able to do that with Azure AD join scenario. Okay, so when you have to plan the Azure AD join process if you are new to that, in terms of your organization perspective, because that is very important. You need to assess the application, you need to do the application assessment, you need to do the authentication assessment, you need to think about all the other ecosystems in the workplace, right? How you are going to connect back if you are not joined to the domain, then if you are purely going with Azure AD join scenario. So these are the thought points, right? These are the high level points which you can go back and think about. Okay. Um, so for hybrid Azure AD join, MDM is Intune is the way to manage the policies, security policies, and all kind of policies using Intune settings catalog and all the other different profiles available you can manage. Okay. Um, I think we have covered all the points. Windows Hello for Business, yeah, that is also I have covered in the previous slide. But Windows Hello for Business needs a specific requirement, or having has a specific requirement when in Azure hybrid Azure AD join scenario. But it is kind of more straightforward, frictionless in Azure AD join scenario. Jitesh, we can move to the next slide if that's okay. Thank you. Okay, so this is a bit noisy slide, I would say. A lot of information over here. So let's start with hybrid Azure AD join. What is hybrid Azure AD join? As I'm already covered, hybrid Azure AD join is domain join plus Azure AD registered. Right. So that is hybrid Azure AD join. So you will have device records on-prem in on-prem Active Directory as well as in the cloud. Okay. So that is hybrid Azure AD join scenario. And if you talk about Azure AD join scenario, that is purely in the cloud. The device records are purely in the cloud. So you need to think how we can manage the devices if that is only available in the cloud. So you might not have the OU structure which is there in your on-prem Active Directory. So do you have any dependencies related to that? Anything else related to that? So some of the points I'm covering over here, some of them are non-technical. So for example, if I say Tom, right? So there would be, I'm expecting that there would be a Tom, or when I say Tom, it is a target operating model, right? There would be a change. I'm expecting a change in the Tom if you are moving away from hybrid Azure AD join and using all the modern authentication and modern tools, and moving away from the traditional management tools and authentication, etc. Right? So you need to consider that also as part of your project planning when you have when you are planning to move to Azure AD join scenario. So that is very important. Okay, so let's go to the primary audience. I think primary audience, we have most of the scenario for both. We have the same scenario, and we have explained hybrid identities and cloud identities. So I'm not going to spend more time on that. And device management, group policy is one of the thing, right? And we explained about that also, group policy versus Intune management. Okay, the network connectivity. I think that is also required. On-prem connectivity is required, and VNet should be configured, and you should have a VPN connection. I don't recommend VPN connection. or express route to the on-prem if your domain controllers are on-prem because of some security constraints or something like that, right? This is for a hybrid Azure AD join. So for Azure AD join, we don't have those kind of constraints. But if you want on-prem connectivity to access some of the on-prem applications, then you can have a VNet managed by yourself, and you can have the connectivity back to on-prem in Azure AD Join also. So from a feature perspective, we are not Windows 365 is not restricting you to connecting back to your on-prem applications and using those on-prem applications from Windows 365 Cloud PC. That is very important to understand, and that is one of the biggest positives of Windows 365 Cloud PC Azure AD Join, from at least from my perspective, right, or my point of view. Okay, so for hybrid Azure AD join, other point is automation, right? We've been using some kind of automation process. I have seen many organizations uses automation like ServiceNow or something else which are connected to the traditional management tools and Active Directory, etc., etc. Right? So if you are moving to Azure AD join, pure Azure AD join scenario, you need to think about those automation services or automation solutions. Probably those are internal in-house automation solutions. Probably those are outsourced ones, right? In those scenarios, you need to think about those kind of scenarios and plan for those. Okay. Tom, we have talked about that. RBAC. RBAC is also important when we move away from traditional management tools and to a modern solution like with Cloud PC and Windows 365, along with MEM, Intune, and Azure Active Directory join scenarios, right? So that is very important. You need to spend more time on planning the RBAC, how you are going to provide access to your admins, how you are going to segregate, how you are going to scope it, etc., etc. Right? So that is very important. And device records, we talked about that in all the three slides, so I'm not going to cover that. So I think that's it from my side. I think I'm going to hand over this back to Jitesh.
Thank you. Thanks, Sanoop, for providing us those insight, all the main differences between the hybrid Azure AD versus Azure AD. So moving ahead to next. So this is basically here we will talk about the Windows 65 provisioning policy based on the joining type and the network selection. So before moving ahead, just want to provide quick insights about the provisioning. So provisioning in basically in the Windows 65 world, is it the process to automate all those processes. So with the help of the provisioning policy, we are creating a cloud PC virtual machine, and it is setting up for the user. And as part of the Christiaan presentation, so he has highlighted about the language and the Windows settings. So we are also having the option in the configuration tab where we can select the native language which you want for the user at the first sign-in experience. And moving ahead to the join tab. So basically, when you will proceed to create the provisioning policy, you will have two options. You will able to see in the join tab. So once you will proceed with the hybrid Azure AD join, so you will have this network solution. You need to choose the on-premises network. Like in the network, you can see there is a Azure network connection is selected. So basically, there are two options for selecting the join type for the cloud PC. One is for Azure AD join and another is hybrid Azure AD join. So you need to select from the join type drop down menu, either if you want to proceed with the Azure AD or the hybrid Azure AD. And for the Azure AD, is it joined? Is it currently in the preview phase? So most expected in the upcoming months, it will be started out for the GA as mentioned by the Christian earlier. So let's understand the difference between the Azure AD join and the hybrid Azure AD network selection type. So based on that, when we are selecting the hybrid Azure AD join, it is providing on-premises domain join for the cloud PC. So I'm not going to explain in the depth. So Ravi has already provided much more insights all about the network selection and all those activities, how basically the things is working on the backend process. And in the moving ahead for the Azure AD join, so Azure AD basically we are having a option to select the either we can use the on existing on-prem network, or we are having an option to uh, check with the Microsoft hosted network. So for the Microsoft, once you able to select the Microsoft hosted network in the Azure AD join, you must select a region for Microsoft to host your cloud PC. So that is the mandatory part you need to perform during the Azure AD join process. So now moving ahead, so to the next slide. So this is the Azure network connection differences. So whenever we are performing any of the provisioning process or the while provisioning process, we are creating firstly the Azure network connection. So based on the network connection, uh, the hybrid Azure AD join have total 10 checks, and where compared to the Azure AD join, it is having the 7 checks. So it is just a feature of Windows 65 for the Azure network connection to ensure everything is periodically running and making sure cloud PC provisioning will get success. So these are all the supported checks for the hybrid Azure AD join. So hybrid Azure AD join, as I mentioned earlier, so have a total 10 checks. So in that, firstly, the device will get synced to the Azure AD. So Azure AD, once the Azure AD sync is enabled on the Azure AD tenant, and the computer object will be synced within the 90 minutes. But sometime in the some scenario we have observed some delay in the of syncing process as mentioned by the Anoop. So he has highlighted that part. And then coming to that Azure tenant readiness, so it is basically defined for the Azure subscription. So once the Azure subscription is enabled and ready to use, no Azure policy or restriction is should block the Windows 65 resources to be created. So here you can see the status is showing passed. So everything is going smoothly in terms of the Azure network connection check. Then the next part is the first party app permission exit on the Azure subscription. So this is basically checking whether have the sufficient permission exist on the Azure subscription or not. So in terms of that simple manner, you can say you should have the sufficient permission on the Azure subscription. And the next part would be the same. Is it checking the permission on the Azure resource group? So all those three aspect it is firstly validating the Azure subscription, then moving to the Azure resource group, then ensuring we have the sufficient permission exist on the Azure VNet. Then the next next part, which is the common for both scenario, which is the hybrid Azure AD and the Azure AD join, which is basically the Azure virtual network readiness. So this is basically defining the VNet in a what are the supported regions for the Windows 65. So it is validating all those aspects. And then moving ahead for the Azure subnet IP address. So it is also same as for the permission perspective. It is also validating whether the we have the sufficient IP address are available to be provided in the Azure subnet or not. So these are all like part of the network validation they are checking. So just to make sure the cloud PC users can reach everything that they need on their network to be more productive. And once we have configured a connection, so basically the watchdog service continually running the diagnostic to ensure the connections are up and running, and if anything is getting failed during that provision, so it is getting alert. Even the you will get a suggestion like how you can use the and how you will be able to resolve or correct the issue. So you can see like it is a built auto box experience for the admin. Okay, then moving to the next. So this is the Azure AD joined device record. So in the Azure portal, like when you go to the all devices and check your provision cloud PC, you will able to see the devices appeared under the Azure AD directory. So here basically inside that joint type, you can see it is showing the Azure AD joint as the machine is a part of Azure AD provisioning policy. And as soon as whenever you will proceed for the reprovisioning of the devices, so it will firstly and the like lower screenshot you can see there is a status showing the provisioning, and one status is showing as a provisioned. So provisioning is basically like action we are performing whenever like by considering the different factors like if you need a fresh cloud PC, or uh, some of the users has reported like he has getting some issue, and you can ask basically firstly user to back up the entire data and all those things, because once you proceed to reprovision the cloud PC, it won't like store anything inside the device, so it is kind of like fresh devices. So you can simply say it is like resetting the complete devices and renaming with the new name. So once the provisioning process will get initiated, you will see the message indicate the cloud PC provision in process. So as soon as the provisioning processes get finished, and the status will get changed to the provision. That means the cloud PC provision has been successfully, and the major part here is like whenever you are initiating any of the Windows 65 provisioning, so device status should be the provisioned or like or failed, then only like you will able to start the reprovisioning operation. So as soon as you will initiate the reprovisioning of a cloud devices, the cloud PC VM will get deleted and a new cloud PC instance will created, as you can see in the screenshot. Okay, so that's all from the Azure AD device record. Then moving ahead for the this here you can see like from the admin perspective, when you visit to the portal.azure.com and under the Azure Active Directory tab, you can see the particular device is a part of Azure AD joint, and the another device is showing status as a joint type hybrid Azure AD joint. So whenever you will setting up the provisioning policy to device to be joined as a like Azure AD joined. So as soon as the device provision will get completed, the device should be part of the Azure AD. So you can validate the same information by visiting the Azure portal, and here you can see under the join type, the device is falling under which category. So here in the scenario, in the upper scenario, you can see the device, the joint type is showing the Azure AD joint, and the another device is showing the hybrid Azure AD joint. Okay, so this is the like we had already talked about the Azure AD joint device record, how the devices is getting provisioned, and later point of time how the all those things is initiating, and the advantage. The same things applies for the hybrid Azure AD joined record. So as soon as the you can see the device is in a part of the Windows 65 node. So as soon as we had initiated the reprovisioning of the devices at from the admin center, the new provisioning has started as the status is getting changed to the provisioning. So that means that is indicating the cloud PC provisioning is in progress. So once the provisioning is in progress, the device records got created in the on-prem AD, and the earlier entry for the existing devices, it will be disabled. As you can see in the middle screenshot, it is showing disabled during the reprovisioning stage. So whatever the device, existing device we have, so as soon as we will initiate the reprovisioning, the device entry will get disabled. Then the next part would be as soon as the device will start provision for you, you can see the device entry will get changed inside the Azure portal. So Azure portal, you can see the one of the devices is showing as a provisioned, and the another device which is still in the provisioning reprovisioning state, it is indicating device record, no device record. So that means as soon as the device will get provision, the new device record will get created on the on-prem AD, and based on the syncing, the device will be appeared inside the Azure Active Directory tab. So you will get all those status inside the same portal. Okay, so the next part, how you can identify what are the join tabs you have. So based on the user, the in the devices, based on the registry provisioning policy you had selected, you can just go to the devices, either your uh, hybrid AD join devices or the Azure AD join devices. So here you can see for the hybrid Azure AD join devices, under the settings account and the access work school, you can see this device is showing it is a part of domain join on-prem domain. So and to check the same status whether the device is registered to the hybrid AD or Azure AD, you need to run the basically this command, which is dsrezcmd.exe/status. So by running the command line, you will able to identify whether the device status is showing the Azure AD joined or hybrid Azure AD joined. So in the case of the Azure AD joined, you can see the device status under that Azure AD joined is showing yes, and the it is for the domain join scenario, it is basically showing no. And whereas in the hybrid Azure AD joined scenario, we can see devices showing that devices already a part of the domain joined, and the domain name is basically it is getting appeared as well as the device name dot domain name. So we can validate all those information by visiting that. So whenever a device is AD registered, then it is has been connected from a login account, and then been connected via the work or school wizard. That part basically we are doing as a manually. So in this turn, we can directly visit to that work and school section inside the setting to validate the same thing. Okay, so now it's all from we had checked what are the differences and all those aspects. So now we will have some demo to walk you through about the different processes. So just So Anoop, you want to proceed?
Okay, I can do it if you want.
Okay.
You want me to do it?
Yeah, you can please share.
Okay, sure. Give me a sec. Um, uh, tu- 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 tu. Uh, where is it? Okay, I was not very prepared for this, but give me a sec. Um, tu- 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 tu. Where is? I'm trying to find out the correct screen so that um, I got it. Okay, hopefully you can see my screen.
Yeah, it's up.
Sorry for the delay. Now let's have the fun of demos. Okay. Um, so let's check the client side of it first, right? We all know what is this. If you don't know, this is the Windows 365 client client side of things, right? This is the client portal. You can see windows365.microsoft.com, and I can log into this um, with my credentials, etc. Right, and probably I might need to log into another one. um, let's close it. I was doing something else with that, so let me log into the other one. Okay. 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 So this is the thing which I think which Jitesh shared. If you go to settings in Windows 11, you would be able to see about uh, accounts, and in the accounts, if you can go to access school work, you would be able to see this is AD joined, a hybrid Azure AD join device, right? So that is the thing. One thing I wanted to show quickly, and in the system uh, about, you would be able to see all these details, right? Which is this particular processor, which is this RAM, the provisioned with the cloud PC, etc., etc. Right. So that is quickly the client side of it. Now let's quickly move to the server side of it. Let me try to share my screen. Um, I'm struggling here because endpoint.microsoft.com, and let me share the correct screen. Okay, devices. Hopefully you can see my screen now. And this is where we need to manage all the provisioning policies with Windows 365. If you click on devices, this is MEM Intune portal, right? I hope you all are familiar with this particular portal. And if you go to devices and Windows 365, that is the place where we all play. If you are planning to deploy, if you are testing, or if you are already in production with Windows 365, this is the place where we will spend most of our time. Okay, so let's quickly go into network connections, which Jitesh explained over here. There are two network connections. You can see one, we use it for Azure AD join, and with why this is there's a network connection, because we need that on-prem connectivity, on-prem connectivity for some application, on-prem application, and etc., right? So that is the scenario over here. We need a network connection, but we have an option to have Azure AD join without any on-prem connectivity, right? So that is Microsoft hosted network. We would be using, in that scenario, we would be using Microsoft hosted network. Okay, so over here, if you go to check successful, you can see the things which Jitesh explained. So I'm not going to go into the details. Over here in the properties, you would be able to see virtual network which we are using, and what is the details about the other things and all, right? So over here, this is the hybrid Azure AD join scenario. If I go to check connection, you can see all these checks are passed and everything is perfectly fine with my connectivity back to on-prem Active Directory, and the device sync is happening through Azure AD Connect. All right, all those things are perfectly fine. So this is the place where you want to go and check if you are having any issues with the provisioning of cloud PCs. Okay, and over here, let's go through a provisioning, creating a provisioning policy here. All right, APAC user group provisioning policy. Right. So let's put a name and a description over here, and here is the option, right? Join type. If you hover your mouse over here, you would be able to see what is it exactly, right? Well, Azure AD join is in preview, as Jitesh mentioned, and you can use hybrid Azure AD join. When you select hybrid Azure AD join, there are some options which is kind of changed in the drop down menu, right, over here. So for Azure AD join, you have Microsoft hosted network, right? If you don't want any on-prem connectivity for your application access, on-prem application access, etc., you can use this option. And you need to select which region you want to provision this particular cloud PC, right? This is the pure cloud scenario, all right? So without any on-prem connectivity. The next one is, as you can see, there is only option is our own network, right? This is the network which we created within our tenant, and that is what we need to use for hybrid Azure AD join to get the connectivity back to Active Directory and join the devices, etc. So in this scenario, I'm going to use Microsoft hosted network, and I'm going to say Asia Pac, Central India, right? And there, if I click on next, there is an option to image select the image type. There is no difference between hybrid Azure AD join and Azure AD join in this particular page, right? So we can always select custom image if you have one, but I always recommend to have a um, to use the gallery image, which has a lot of advantages, right? So click on next, and then you can select the language options. If you want to have a specific language, for example, if you want to have a Chinese, or if you want to have some other language, you can select that language option. So I'm going to go ahead with the default one over here. Click next, and over here, this is the user assignment part, right? So you need to assign an Azure Active Directory user group into this particular policy, right? Or you can assign this particular provisioning policy into a Azure Active Directory user group. The expectation is that you need to have all the users should have the licenses. Okay, Windows 365 licenses. Otherwise, the cloud PCs are not going to get provisioned. Okay, I'm not going to do that for now in this particular demo, but this is a process which we have to use for the provisioning of VMs, right? So in if you go back to the cloud PCs, you would be able to see cloud PCs tab over here. You would be able to see how many cloud PCs are there, and what is the status of it, and the PC type, and the OS, network connection, all those details and user details, etc., are available. And if you want to see the devices managed with the cloud PC, you can search with CPC, and you would be able to see some of the PCs over here, records over here. And if you click on that, these records, you would be able to see different options. Restore option is there, pre-provision option is there, re-provision option is there, and a lot of remote options are available like this, right? So you can, if you want to collect some log files, you can collect over here. I'm going to random things over here because I quickly wanted to give you an overview of the experience, right? User experience is another piece of it, right? Very important, and this is tightly integrated with all the other components of Windows 365, right? So that is very important. And user connectivity, all these tabs are very helpful in troubleshooting and to understand how what is the experience of the user, and how the connectivity is going, etc., right? So I think that was the quick demo. I think we are already on time, so we can quickly take, if you have any questions, we can quickly take questions. Otherwise, I think that is it from our side in terms of demo, and probably I will give the floor back to Jitesh to finish the things off.
Yeah, thank you, Anoop, for taking it over in a quick span of time and delivering all those insightful things. So, if you have any questions, so we will wait for few seconds. If no, you can definitely reach out to us via our social handles, and we are also, you can reach out from the windows65 community.com. So we all are here to help you in case of anything.
And before we go, last point probably from my side. Um, go to the Asia Pac Windows 365 user group, and join that meetup user group, so that you will get notification whenever we conduct this kind of sessions in future. So we can't see
Yeah,
any
that's
questions
that's a good
coming.
point. So I had already pasted a link in the chat window, so you can probably go down there and just join us. So you will get a sort notification whenever we are planning for the upcoming events.
Okay, it's good show, Jitesh, and everyone, Ravi, Christian. Thank you all for joining, and thank you for inviting me to this presentation. Yeah, it's great fun.
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining us and have some conversation and insightful things about all those Windows Cloud PC. So thank you. So I think we are good to close it here. So thank you everyone. Bye for now.
Thank you, Jitesh. Thank
Thank you,
you.
everyone.